Rabbi Nachman says it's forbidden to be old. And I really have this belief in renewal and reset. Every night I go to bed, I say, okay, Beth, restart. Tomorrow's a new day. Whatever happened today, tomorrow we're going to start again. And I think I got that from my great uncle, who I see as a mentor, who, he was 96, but when he passed away, I always said he wasn't that old.
Welcome to our Olami podcast, where we get insight into the different mentors that are on our mentorship journey. And today I have Beth Moskovic with us. And Beth is going to introduce herself, let us know where she's from, what industry, profession she is, where she's located now, and some little highlights of her life. Go ahead, Beth.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me, Jordana. I'm really happy to be here with you. So my name is Beth Moskovic. I am a wife, a mom of 6 children ranging from 17 to 4 years old. I would call that my main accomplishment, what I really am so proud of. I am a marriage and intimacy coach, working mainly with women. I'm also a college teacher. I also work with couples. I work a lot on relationship skills. My background is in educational psychology. So prior to embarking on this journey as a coach, I worked for many years, over 20 years, in Jewish day schools, overseeing programs for students with learning disabilities, all kinds of academic support, early intervention programs. And that was very much a passion of mine. Reading is very much a passion of mine. Reading developments, early literacy, that was where I started. I live in Montreal. I'm born in Montreal. I live in the house around the corner from where I was born. So wow. I have not gone too far. I'm very much a home girl. I like being close by to my roots. And my background is Ashkenazi. I'm also very proud daughter of Holocaust survivors. My parents were children of the Holocaust, grandparents, great-grandparents, and that is very much a big part of my identity. I went to Jewish day school all my life, where really Jewish identity was really instilled in me, connection to Israel, just Jewish pride. And I see more than ever today how much gratitude I have for that upbringing and that education I got.
Wow, that's beautiful. Now, is your husband also from Montreal?
Yes. My husband's also from Montreal. He is, we grew up actually 7 blocks from each other, but we didn't know each other. We grew up in different communities. So his parents are from Moroccan background. He's Sephardi, and we're 360 days apart. I'm actually 360 days older than him. So we met when we were 19 and 20 and dated for a long time, almost 8 years, and then got married about 18 years ago. And so we've been on a journey, all kinds of different aspects of this journey together, a beautiful journey together.
Oh, wow. That sounds so beautiful. Oh my gosh. So you also speak French then, obviously.
Oui, bien sûr.
I took French in high school, but don't ask me anything. Okay. So now, when you wanted to go into psychology, was there something from your upbringing, from your childhood that veered you in the direction of your profession?
I think that I was always a person who liked helping people. So when I was a kid in school, if someone needed help, I was finished my schoolwork and a friend or a classmate needed help, I remember going over to them or asking the teacher, can I help somebody? Can I help you? And psychology is a lot about, there's a lot of branches it's helping profession. So I think that's what got me into it. And I actually studied commerce, business in college. Here we have CJEP before you go to university. So I was always that girl that believed in keeping your doors open. I was open. I thought, okay, I'll take all those math courses because maybe I'll go into business. I'm not sure. I just wanted to keep my doors open, and I'm a learner. So I was always interested in learning. And but it always led me back to doing something that would help others, whether it was initially children. It was very much about children, but really in different populations. Today, I would say in what I'm doing, I'm always ready to reach out and see how can I help this group in whatever the need is.
Now, I love that you're a helper. um, Now you touched on something. You said it, and you said it so subtly, but I'm going to bring it up, and let's see where we could go with it. You had mentioned that you were on a journey with your husband, that you were on a journey together. Do you want to explain that journey? And on that journey, sometimes when we use that terminology, there are people that guide us on that journey. We like to call them mentors. You might have seen them as somebody else, as guides of people that you seek advice from. So besides of whatever you feel comfortable sharing about your journey, share. And then I'd love to hear about anyone that mentored you or guide you on that journey.
Absolutely. So I think I would say when my husband and I met, we were both very modern. We grew up. I think him being Sephardi, there was more of a bit more traditional background than I had, but I also had a traditional background. We went to synagogue, to shul on high holidays. We celebrated all the high holidays, Friday night, Shabbat at home as much as possible. But then when I met my husband, his family was more on a path to becoming more observant. And I think love can open you up to all kinds of things. So as soon as, not long after we met, I would walk to his house Friday night. I stopped driving my car on Friday nights. And then Saturday still, I wasn't, there yet. He ate only kosher. Well, I loved him. So he wanted to eat kosher. Okay, no problem. Let's eat kosher. And I really, once I let go of whatever it is I was doing previously in terms of dietary and all of that and eating, that came kind of with ease. And some things were harder to take on. But it became a journey of spirituality, of growth, and then, of course, bumps along the way, not always agreeing on everything, not always being in the same place. Sometimes I felt like he was sort of, I would say, ahead of me in certain areas. And I think while it's a couple's journey, I think there's also the personal aspects of the journey that could be so enriching when you, again, open yourself up to it. So that's what I did. I said, okay, what can this bring me? What can I learn? What can I learn from what he's doing? And, I think different stages of life, whether it's when we are older children, we're younger, we did it in a certain way, but always, bringing in rituals, connecting back to our roots into Judaism.
So were there any guides for you, any mentors along the way to help you with this journey?
Yes, absolutely. I think one of my biggest mentors was my great uncle, who passed away at 96, and my husband knew him also. And he was, he was a Holocaust survivor. He was very much, connected to Yiddishkeit and to Torah. And at the time, I wasn't as much, but I always went over to his house. There's something always that drew me back to him. And he had this gentle, kind way of approaching life. His emunah, his faith after experiencing so much challenge and continuing to experience challenge in his older years was really a source of inspiration for me. And I don't know if then I knew how much it was an inspiration for me, but I took it all in. I think one of the lessons I learned from him, which my husband follows the teachings of Rabbi Nachman, we follow it together, is that Rabbi Nachman says it's forbidden to be old. And I really have this belief in renewal and reset. Every night I go to bed, I say, okay, Beth, restart. Tomorrow's a new day. Whatever happened today, tomorrow we're going to start again. And I think I got that from my great uncle, who I see as a mentor, who, he was 96, but when he passed away, I always said, he wasn't that old. To me, I kept on repeating it. I remember then saying, but he wasn't so old, because that was the attitude, the way, the mindset, that's how he lived life. And I think today, that's what I bring into my life too, into my relationship with my children, into my work. I think just saying, okay, start again after 20 years of doing it one way or being on one path or working in one institution where I was very, very connected, very involved. It's okay. We can redirect and switch gears a little bit and adjust and find another way. And I think it's brought me a lot of goodness in my life.
Mm, okay, I'm gonna love this conversation. So get ready. Go. You ready to go with me, Beth? Okay, because you're bringing up a lot of stuff, and I'm very much enjoying it. So, in reference to your great uncle, so you had said that he had mentioned never. What was the way you phrased it? Never to get old,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So when you were talking about a mindset and to be ready. It's a new day to start over again, and don't get stuck in your old ways. So, what's very common today is validation,
yes.
validating, right? Especially if you're a coach, you know what I'm talking about, and allowing people to have their feelings. So, at what point do you feel do we make that shift? What point do we say, okay, I felt the feelings. Don't stay now in the old. Now it's time to shift. Isn't that interesting? Like, you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you. I think that it takes sometimes a challenging experience or some kind of drastic change in life. For me, if I think back, it could be the pandemic. I think for a lot of people it was
Mm,
that, to say, okay, now sometimes we have to be forced into change. So now I've
mm,
been forced in a way to change aspects of my life and my lifestyle. And it's either, like you said, we get stuck and it could make us more rigid and say, no, I'm kind of pushing against it rather than trying to go through it. And with the through it,
mm.
there could be likely additional more challenges and some bumps along the way. So I think that's where the shift happens. And with that, sometimes it's hard to take risks. I think the biggest struggle is that we struggle to jump into things because we don't want to fail, and
Mm.
we don't want to try something new and make a mistake or not do it what we think or is the right way. And I think our greatest learning and the openings to blessings and the biggest opportunities come through those what I would say is possibility of mistakes. What I always say to my the women that I coach, I've been saying it a lot lately, is do it in something that's easier for you. So if it's something
Mm.
in relationship and they feel like that's really hard, it's hard for me to allow my husband to take control of a certain thing or do it his way, even though I want his help. So I would say try it in what's hard, but the easiest of the hard, so that you feel it a bit, but at least you'll have more of an ease in trying it, in opening that door, and then you'll see, oh, that wasn't so bad. I can do that again. Let me try that again. So I think it's all like small steps we have to try to take.
I like that small step. So now, from what you had told me, you had worked in one area for, I think you had said like 20 years, and then you shifted into the coaching that you're doing. Did you have any guidance during that? Like, was there someone at work that said, okay, Beth, you could do this, or was it your husband that said, oh, Beth, you could do this, let's shift what you were doing and let's change it up? Like, what was the process of that for you, taking that leap, which I think sometimes a lot of people want to do. There are a lot of people professionally, they could be afraid of change, just stick with what they're doing. People that are not passionate about what they're doing, and so they want to change and they want to do what they're passionate about, but they're always scared to do it. So I would love to hear the process. What went in your mind when you were making that shift?
Well, I think prior to making the shift, I think I had like an itch for it. So maybe
Okay.
for, I would say 2, maybe 3 years, I was itching to do it. But like you said, like most people, I had a fear of making the change. I woke up every morning. I worked in the same school since I had got married. I got married in June 2005, and then September I was working in the school, which I adored. My children were born. They all went to the school. They would come to my office to see me. A very family-oriented school. I absolutely adore this school that I worked in. I had a lot of colleagues that I became my friends. I had a lot of allegiance. I'm a very dedicated person when it comes to pretty much everything, but professionally, I felt very tied to my job, to my work, very responsible. So it was hard to let go in that way. And like I said, I think with the pandemic, it was kind of a natural break. I also had a baby at that time in 2019.
Mm.
So I was home on maternity leave with a baby. I think that being home, my kids were all on Zoom in school here. It was like a little school in my house, 5 kids doing school at home. I think that opened up the door. I started buying lots of books. I've always been a reader. I got more involved in social media, and I think there was a lot I learned from others. I look to other people as a model. I think that's one thing, a lesson we can learn is rather than looking at the other, somebody who's successful, somebody who is influencing others and say, wow, I can't do that. Looking at them from the perspective of what do they do that I can learn from? When I look at you, Jordana, I've seen you on your Instagram page and just leaders. Who are leaders we can look to that are models for us? I think that could be the biggest gift in growth and advancement. So while I had personal mentors, I had my own coach, who is someone very close to me in my life. And she was one person that really pushed me and guided me and walked me through the process. My husband, really at the top in terms of support, my biggest cheerleader, encourager, always saying, you want to do something? Okay, go for it. I remember during the pandemic, he wasn't working that much. He was working from home. I said, Elon, I really want to do this course. It sounds amazing, a coaching course in marriage and intimacy. And he just said, okay, if you want to do it and you think this is good for you, do it. Whatever I did, he was always behind me, and he still always is, kind of promoting me, cheering for me, sharing with other people what I do, and really just to me saying, that's amazing. It's incredible what you do, sharing what other people tell him. Do you know so-and-so saw you and they heard what you said and they heard you speak? So it's all that. We need our own internal validation, but like you said, I think it's these guides and mentors in our lives. And I think along the way, I've had different ones that I think Hashem sends them to you, sends you the right person that you need and the right words and the right message at the time that is right for you and when you need it most. That's really my belief. So you're actually getting me thinking of who are those other people in my life that influenced me in those ways.
Right. But I love how you put it. And I think also to just go with the last thing you're saying is that God probably sends these people to us, but you have to be open to receive. Like
Yes.
that's what you were saying, that when you see these other people, don't focus on being jealous of what they're doing or something else, but rather try to be open to see what can you do in your life to mimic a little bit of growth like they have.
Yes.
Like it's like I guess there's a positive jealousy that we talk about in Judaism. There's a good jealousy and there's a bad jealousy. The bad jealousy is if it leads to hatred, if it leads to all those negative feelings. But a good jealousy is, oh my gosh, look at that person. Look how much charity they give. I wish I was able to give that much charity, right? If it leads us to positive action. So I
Yes.
think that's very beautiful how you're putting it. Now, I wanted to ask you a separate question in reference to Montreal. I've never lived in Montreal, visited. What is it like being a Jew there in today's day and age? Is anti-Semitism on the rise? Has it affected, especially, you're talking about your parents, family of Holocaust survivors, so you have a sensitivity to what has happened in the past. Is it triggering now to what's going on now for you as well?
I think for me, it's very triggering. But at the same time, I really feel very grateful and reassured that I live in a thriving Jewish community, a community that has strong ties to our government, strong ties to, security in the city. I do see a rise in anti-Semitism. Unfortunately, we've had incidences at some schools, synagogues in Montreal since October 7th. But, I also see that the community is very much on it. I grew up, like I said, here all my life. And I see the people coming forward and really stepping up and using their voice and creating programs and bringing Jewish people together in our community now more than ever. But we're very blessed that this has always existed in the Montreal Jewish community. We have a strong federation. Federation CJA is an organization that really supports and spreads their support wide in the community and of course in Israel. But yes, I do see certainly the effects of it in Montreal and in the Jewish community. There's no question about that. Our institutions, like in, I would think, other cities in North America, across the world, have stepped up in terms of security. So it's a different way that kids have to live. But I do think that there's been cycles of this over time, but never to this extent like we're living it now. At least in my time, I never saw it to this level.
To this degree, yeah. So now, as a mentor for the Olami Mentorship Program, I would love to hear, like, does anti-Semitism come up in your discussions with your mentee, or what has been a highlight for you now that you are in the mentor seat versus the mentee seat? What have you enjoyed so much about it?
I think in terms of anti-Semitism, because right now this is so much a big part of what's going on in our Jewish lives, it definitely comes up in the conversations with my mentees. I think one message that I would give as a person who went to university, it pains me to see university students, our Jewish students, have to go through what they have to go through. But I think it's a lot about unity. I think that is where our strength lies, in being united, staying united, having a united front, working together, seeing, youth groups and groups form in the universities and among the students and the mentees that I'm working with, that they have access to this. I think that's a great thing. The highlights for me is really just being able to connect. I feel very privileged to be able to connect with a young adult and to provide them with guidance. So whatever it is, the topic that comes up that they want to focus on, I think the conversation kind of goes organically. I like to go back to those guiding themes that are shared by Olami. I open them up and we talk about the questions, the stories, the teachings from the Talmud. It sparks a lot of interesting discussion. So I really love that Olami set it up that way. But like, for example, a mentee I worked with last year, her focus the discussion was a lot about relationships and, different aspects of what goes on in a relationship and different relationships. So it went that way, and a lot about family. Now I'm starting with a new mentee. We've been focusing a lot on more on career paths and talking about her, her school, the journey in education that she's going on. So I think it's, a mix of both, of whatever really. I like to respond to the need and what they have on their minds right now. I think it's important to listen to young people. I think that's really so important, not to focus so much on what do I want to share, but what is it that they want to share. I'm really I start off always by listening.
Right. It's more about not what I want to share, but rather what they want to hear.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. So if there were, we get these questions from the mentees, and one of the main questions that we get asked from the mentees is, what would be 3 life lessons that main life lessons you think are so important that you'd want to give over, whether it be to your children or to your mentee, current mentee, or future mentees, whatever it might be? What are like the top 3 life lessons?
Okay, so for me, I think the first one is that to remember everything changes. So don't lose hope and feel like you're stuck. And I think that's a very Jewish, it's really rooted in Torah and Judaism, is that we're not stuck. We're all born with a predestined path, but it's through our work and trying and changing, and of course prayer, bringing in a few different things into it, we can change. We can change. Everyone has the potential to change. And that's really a belief. I worked, again, I told you, with children with learning disabilities. My belief is that everyone has the potential to change and grow. So I think that's one lesson that I share with mentees, coaching clients, my children, that everything has the potential to change. So don't feel stuck.
Okay, well, give me 2 more.
Okay. Our attitude and perspective is everything. It's huge. It makes such a difference in life. When you look at the world, kind of with a negative lens, and what went wrong, what potentially can go wrong, what others did that wasn't, that could be perceived as negative or against me, or my failures, then that's how we go through life. But if we go into it with, again, that perspective of anything's possible, I'm open. It's not always going to go my way, but I'll keep trying. I think that really changes how we see things and how our life unfolds too. I think that's big. And the choices we make. It also impacts the choices we make, and that we have the choices.
Right. It's like what you're saying for your number two. Your second one is like a lot of times. I think there was like like a cute cartoon about someone who's complaining about the people that they worked with in the office,
Yeah.
and oh, this person needs to change, and that person needs to change. Da, da, da. And then when they seeked help, and all of a sudden they worked on themselves. All of a sudden, the next time after a few months, they get into office, they go, "Oh, everyone changed," and no one really changed. The change was already from within, but it was the own person's perspective. And when they worked on themselves, it seemed as if, but it was how people then were interacting with that person. So I think that's going towards what you were saying. And the last one, Beth, give me one more.
Okay, so I think that for me, a huge one is to always prioritize your self-care. That when you take care of yourself in different ways, feeding aspects of yourself, the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, then you can give back to the closest people in your lives, your loved ones, the world, in so much of a better way. So for me, I have a huge passion for movement. So my message would always be that move your body. I say that every day on my Instagram page. Have you moved your body today? I think that we don't take enough time to care for ourselves, to care for our bodies, and that's what Hashem wants, for us to take care of ourselves, mind, body, and soul. And this is certainly a lesson I share with my coaching clients, my children. They see it in the day to day. They know that's a huge part of my identity. And so, I think a lot of these three lessons, it's a lot about imparting them through what I do more than what I say. So it just, people know me to be that person because that's how I live my life. So those would be definitely my top three.
Oh, I love it. I love how you ended that so beautifully, Beth. That it's not just about what we say, but you model it. These three ideals you actually model in your daily life. So that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Beth. I'm positive any of your mentees are so fortunate to have you as a mentor, and we at Olami are fortunate to have you on board for the Montreal mentorship. And this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really, I enjoyed it very much.